Apple TV's Cape Fear has a few original tweaks to John D. MacDonald's source material, particularly with two characters. The new thriller series serves as the third adaptation of the 1957 novel, the first being the Gregory Peck and Robert Mitchum-led film Cape Fear in 1962, and the second being that of Robert De Niro and Martin Scorsese's 1991 remake. The latest version hails from a friend of the family's Nick Antosca, with Oscar winner Javier Bardem taking over the villainous role previously played by Mitchum and De Niro, while Patrick Wilson co-leads in the role played by Gregory Peck and Nick Nolte. Cape Fear centers on Tom and Anna Bowden, an attorney couple in the Savannah, Georgia area whose lives are turned upside down when they learn of the release of Max Cady, a man who was convicted of brutally stabbing his pregnant wife to death and formerly represented by the pair. Though presenting himself as an apparently reformed ex-convict to their peers, he begins using his newfound knowledge of the law to torment Tom, Anna, and their family. Alongside Bardem, Wilson, and Amy Adams, the ensemble Cape Fear cast includes Joe Anders, Lily Collins, CCH Pounder, Jamie Hector, Anna Baryshnikov, Margarita Levieva, and Ted Levine, among others. Debuting its first 2 episodes on June 5, the Apple TV series has garnered largely positive reviews from critics, currently holding a 76% certified fresh approval rating on Rotten Tomatoes. Ahead of the show's premiere, Screen Rant's Tatiana Hollander interviewed Amy Adams, Javier Bardem, Patrick Wilson, Joe Anders, Lily Collins, and Nick Antosca for Cape Fear. When asked about finding his own interpretation of Max Cady compared to Mitchum and De Niro's previous performances, Bardem explained that he particularly avoided trying to copy anything from their iterations as it would be impossible to try and match them. Further praising both the late Oscar nominee and 2-time Oscar winner as being iconic figures in the world of acting, Bardem further denoted that he and De Niro are close to being in the same generation, citing his performance as being something for a museum to the point one shouldn't even want to touch it. Javier Bardem, the only thing that I was paying a lot of attention to was the sense of humor. They both have this kind of irony going all the time in their performances that makes you feel unease. Are they serious or are they joking? What are they doing with that? I wanted to preserve that, but that was already written. That was already taken into account by Nick Acosta and all the writers, so I didn't have to worry about that much. With the new Cape Fear also giving Anna a much more impactful role than previous iterations, making her an attorney whose ties to Cady make her just as much a target as Tom, Adams described there being a sense of atonement in her choices in the years between the villainous character's imprisonment and subsequent release. Amy Adams, the real reason that she pursued law to begin with was this idea of fighting for truth and something that feels tangible, be it evidence, or be it instinct. I think the Max Cady situation created a lot of conflict in her, and I think you understand the conflict a bit early on. She's working with a lot of shame and a lot of guilt. The 6-time Oscar nominee further shared that Anna really loves and cares about the people that she works with, as well as her family, but that much of Cape Fear shows her carrying around a deep shame that she hasn't addressed. As such, with Cady's return and subsequent impact on her family, they can really deconstruct the truth of who we are by looking inside of those shames and secrets. Cape Fear's wild toe-eating twist left the cast shocked. Screen Rant, a lot of the tension in Cape Fear comes from Max shattering the perfect family that these two have built, but how much of it do you think is an illusion that would have crumbled even without his interference, Patrick? Patrick Wilson, most of this was in the script, so you're playing what you're given. That being said, I do remember early on we were probably playing them more together and picture perfect. I don't know if it was even conscious that we did it, but I just think it's the kind of people we are. I've always wanted to work with Amy, and I adore her as a person and as an actor, so that came through. We knew it was going to be tested, right? So, you have to really dig in and make people go, this is absolutely perfect and rock solid. I mean, that's what you've got to do in a thriller, anyway. But when you're in a piece that is built on tension, you know it's going to be tested and fall apart and go haywire at some point, so you've got to go the other way and play it absolutely rock solid. Nothing can shake us. Nothing can break us. That's how you've got to create the other side of it. In order to create this kind of tension, you've got to make the positive so great, so loving, that nothing comes between them, and then let the story unfold. Screen Rant, the toe storyline is a huge shocker. How did you approach it as an actor, especially given the uncertainty surrounding what the audience knows, what the rest of the characters know, and even what Zach knows himself? Joe Anders, initially, it was the most random thing. When I read it in the character description, I was excited that I even got a central character description in the first place, because I didn't think I was going to get the job. So, I was all smiles, and then I started reading it, and then my smile slowly started to fade. It kept fading, And then I was just like, what is going on with this guy? And that was literally just the first episode. They gave a short synopsis of what happens to him through the rest of the season, and I was just like, my lord, I don't even know how I'm going to try and be this guy. But everything surrounding the toe was really unusual. There are so many details with Zack that I could talk for hours about every part. But the main thing for me was the shame and discomfort. When you understand that he's started devouring himself in a psychological sense, and now in a physical sense, that alone is pretty terrifying to carry around with you and hold on to while you're doing stuff like that. Also, it was really unusual having those moments and just having to go very much into my own space and blank out the fact that this was actually happening, because everything in your mind and in your body is like, what are we doing right now? This is insane and ridiculous. What do?